going on, traders? Happy Friday. I hope you guys have all been having an amazing day. But as you guys can tell from the thumbnail, I had an absolutely huge red day today, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys exactly what ended up happening. And, so hopefully you guys can learn something from it and learn from this mistake in the future, right? But as far as how my account ended on the day, right, I was down 200 on the day. Luckily, my swing trades did push up, right? And Tesla did gap up, over 5 or 6% today, right? So because of that, right, they were able to work myself out of the red a bit, right? But as far as how I did day trading wise, absolutely blew it today, down 650 on the day, right? You guys can see I didn't even have that many filled orders and I still managed, to absolutely wreck myself. So I'm going to go ahead and explain exactly what ended up happening. But as far as what I saw going on during the pre-market session, right, we were gapping up and we were starting to test that really strong resistance that we have been testing, right, the past few days. And so because of that, because we were close to these resistance levels, it made sense to me why we could potentially get rejected and start to sell off, right? And so because of that anticipation, right, this is exactly where my mistake was. I fell in love with the idea that this thing had to pull on back, when in reality, right, the bulls were out today and they were just super strong today. As you guys can see, we gapped up all day, barely had any pullbacks, and anytime we did pull on back, we would almost immediately break back above the EMA and start to climb even higher, right? But this is exactly where I went wrong, right? So what I should have done in the future, or looking back in hindsight, I mean, is, I should have realized that on the bigger time frames there was a very strong resistance. But if this thing does start to push on to those levels, it's not a dumb idea for me to get into SQQQ, right? So given that the Nasdaq is super overbought, right, it makes sense to me why I would pay attention more to SQQQ, right? There's obviously a lot more margin for SQQQ than there is for TQQQ if the resistance were to be relevant, right? That's only if the resistance were to be validated. So obviously if this thing were to get rejected and sell off, right, there's a lot more margin for this thing to fall. We could have potentially tested this previous support that we did experience, right, on the 24th. And so because of that, right, it made me want to focus on SQQQ. And so I'm not too mad at all that I got burned a few times, right, trying to get into SQQQ. But where I do think I made a big mistake, I fell in love with the idea that this thing was gonna reverse for sure, and I didn't accept the reality that this thing didn't have to reverse today, right? This thing could have uptrended all day exactly how it did, and it would have completely wrecked me, right? So I was not prepared, right? I was not truly prepared for if this trade were to actually go south, right? If I was, I would have set stop losses and I would have walked away with a $100 to $200, loss on the day. I think that definitely would have been more justified rather than, a $650 loss. That is just too big of a loss to even, it's just not impressive if I'm profiting all week and then I just on one day blow everything up, right? It's not impressive at all. And, there's like anyone can do that, right? Exactly what I'm doing. Anyone can have, a few green days and then just blow everything up on the last day. So that's something I need to be more aware of in the future when I am having green days, right? It's to never get too cocky and think that you have everything, right, figured out because of the fact of situations like this, right? My mindset today is what dug myself into this big hole. I kept thinking I absolutely had to be right, and this thing was gonna, find a nice rejection and start to sell off, right? That's exactly what I kept thinking, and it was super hopeful. I kept thinking we are going to finally find a resistance and correct ourselves and everything was going to go according to plan, right? But in reality, this thing absolutely wrecked me and it really, really humbled me today. And I'm honestly, in a weird way, glad to have had this experience because the emotional aspect of it, right? The fact that it's bothering me so much, it's really going to make me not want to have this happen again, right? But although this has happened to me multiple times, right, this same exact pattern too, where there's a very strong resistance and I'll be shorting the market and this thing will just start to break that resistance and that buying pressure will kick in, right? And I will just be very hopeful thinking this thing's just going to sell off and be digging myself in a bigger hole, right? This has happened to me multiple times. You guys have seen if you've been following the channel. So the fact that I keep making the same mistake, right, and it's causing me to give back these huge chunks of profit, right? It's just super frustrating, and I definitely just need to be learning from these mistakes, right, and implementing better habits. But although it was a tough loss for me Friday, I hope you guys were all able to end on the green note. Congrats to any of you who were in TQQQ, right? Because you would have absolutely made a killing today. But that's pretty much everything I did want to talk about, right? I just wanted to be super transparent and share this big loss with you guys, right? And just so you guys have something to relate to in case you guys are having a tough time in your trading journey. But that's pretty much everything. I know there is a long weekend, and on Monday the market should be closed. So I hope to see you guys on Tuesday when we post a recap. So see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend and take care.